In North Korea, open defiance against the state can cost you everything. To question the government is to risk not only your own life, but the lives of 3 generations of your family. And yet, in 2008, the regime made a critical error. It picked a fight with the one group it couldn't afford to anger, the country's mothers, wives, and daughters. This is the incredible true story of the day a dictator was forced to back down to an army of ordinary women. A story the regime has been trying to bury ever since. So, how did things get to a point where this was even possible? It all started with something the regime calls the arduous march. That's the official name for the horrific famine that tore through North Korea in the 1990s. The state's public food distribution, the socialist promise that everyone would be provided for, completely fell apart. With no government rations, families were left to fend for themselves or starve. But out of that desperation, a new force rose up. The black markets, or jangmadang, and they were run almost entirely by women. While men were legally required to show up at their state-assigned jobs, even if the factories were dead silent and paid nothing, women had just enough freedom to find other ways to keep their families alive. They started by selling foraged vegetables, then moved on to trading goods smuggled across the Chinese border. These women became the new breadwinners. By the 2000s, it was estimated that women's market activities provided as much as 70 to 80% of a typical family's income. The jangmadang weren't just markets. They were the engine of a new, grassroots economy that literally kept the country from starving. In the process, these women accidentally became a powerful economic force, creating a society within a society that the regime couldn't fully control. The state, of course, saw this growing independence as a direct threat. These markets were becoming hubs for outside information and dangerous capitalist ideas. So, in 2008, the government issued a stunning new rule. Women under the age of 49 were banned from all market activities. The official reason was to stamp out anti-socialist behavior, but the real goal was to break the back of this new economy and put the state back in control. For countless families, this wasn't just some new policy. It was a direct threat to their survival. The women targeted by the ban were the most active, the most entrepreneurial, and often the only ones providing for their children and husbands. The very state that had failed to feed them was now criminalizing their only means of survival. It was a massive miscalculation, and it pushed the most resilient people in the country to their breaking point. What happened next was almost unthinkable in North Korea. The women fought back. In the city of Cheongjin and in places like Haeju and beyond, when market women were blocked by guards, they refused to go home. They organized, staged sit-ins, and shouted at the officials standing in their way. They even sent direct appeals to the central government in Pyongyang, demanding that the market ban be reversed. Just picture the scene. An army of mothers and wives with no political power and no weapons, openly confronting armed agents of a brutal dictatorship. Defector testimonies describe chaotic scenes where women, shaking with indignation, yelled things like, "If you won't let us trade, give us food." This wasn't a typical political protest demanding abstract rights. It was a raw, primal scream for survival. They were demanding the right to feed their children. It was a level of grassroots, collective anger the regime had never encountered before. The protests sent shockwaves through the local government. The regime faced an impossible choice: either violently suppress the protests and risk a local crisis exploding into nationwide unrest, or back down. If they crushed the markets entirely, they could trigger another famine. But if they let the defiance stand, it would reveal a crack in their armor of absolute control. Faced with this dilemma, the state blinked. There was no big announcement, no public admission of defeat. Instead, local officials in the protesting cities quietly stopped enforcing the ban. The age restriction was simply allowed to fade away, and the women went back to their market stalls. It was a silent, unacknowledged retreat. The women had won. This was one of the boldest yet least known acts of defiance in North Korea's modern history, a rare moment that proved even the harshest dictatorship has limits. Faced with starvation, these women stood their ground, and the regime blinked. To this day, many of those black markets still exist, still run by women, still keeping families alive in the shadows of control. They weren't trying to be revolutionaries, they just wanted to survive. But in doing so, they changed their country, quietly, from within.